Hello, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. My clock says 6:31 Pacific time. My name is Sarah Nordoff, and I'm the Director of Enrollment here at Catlin Gable School. And we're so glad that you could join us this evening for this discussion about the beginning and lower school at Catlin Gable, which for us is grades preschool through 5. And we're so glad that you could be with us this evening. I know that it's tough to find a 45-minute break in your day to extract yourself from all that's going on to prioritize an event like this. So we really are grateful that you could be here tonight. And we wish we could be with you in person. This is awkward for us to be talking with you on video in this way in which we can't see you. It feels very unnatural. Do know that even though the admission process is all virtual this year, we still very much want to get to know your families and your children. And I hope that if you haven't already, that you'll schedule some time with Zoe Edelin Hare. She is our Director of Beginning and Lower School Admission. She couldn't be with us tonight, but she'd love to meet you if she hasn't already. So do schedule some time with her to do a tour or an informal chat, whatever you are most comfortable with. She'd like to meet you and get to know you, as would all of us. A couple of logistical things. We are recording tonight's event, and we do that because it enables us to post the recording onto the website later on. So you can go ahead and review it again if you'd like to. And for any families who couldn't join us tonight, they can go ahead and access the video as well. And we'll do that probably by the end of the week. And if you need to leave this evening at any point, please feel free to do so. If you need to go feed children or put children to bed, whatever you need to do. We're not tracking attendance at this evening's discussion. So if you need to leave, please do. And as I just mentioned, the recording will be available so you can catch the rest of the discussion later on. What else? We are going to be answering questions at the end of tonight's program, but you're welcome to write in your questions in the chat function here at any time. If you're like me and you forget it, unless you write it down, you can surely write it in at any moment, and then the panelists will try to answer as many questions as they can towards the end of tonight's program. I think that's it from me. I want to say a very heartfelt thank you to all of our community members who have joined us this evening for this panel discussion. This is a wonderful group of people, and we're so grateful for their time as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dawn Isaacs. She is the head of the Beginning and Lower School, and she's going to be moderating tonight's discussion. Dawn,
Thank you,
over to
Sarah.
you.
Thanks, Sarah. Sarah, before you leave here, there was a question around how to best schedule time with Zoe. Can you share that with us?
Yes, sure. So if you go to the Catlin Gable website, in the admissions section, there's a button in there to log into what we call the admission portal, and that is where you can find times to schedule with Zoe.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And welcome to everyone. We're so happy to be with you tonight. And I just wanted to echo Sarah's thoughts that we wish we could be together in person, and that connection and relationship and being together is a big part of being part of the Catlin community. And so we are thankful that you're here now, and we'll get to know some of us in this way tonight. So welcome to all of our panelists too. And I thought we could start by everyone, sharing who you are and your role. We have teachers and an administrator and parents, so all kinds of folks here with us tonight. If you could share who you are, your role, and what brought you to Catlin, and why you stay at Catlin. And Sia, can we start with you?
Sure. My name is Sia, and I teach in the kindergarten. I've been at Catlin, this is the start of the 11th year, and doesn't feel like it has a real year ring to it, but I love being at Catlin, and I came here honestly because I saw in action what I was striving to achieve in other classrooms. And so I saw a lot of people working together to realize a vision for what they thought of in early childhood. So that really drew me in.
Thanks, Sia. And the other panelists, just go ahead and kind of chime in when you're ready to share who you are and what brought you here and why you stay.
I can go next. My name's Marcel. I teach second grade. This year I've also taught third grade. And I first stepped on Catlin Gables campus almost 12 years ago now. I came originally as an intern, and what brought me was through my master's program, had the opportunity to do my student teaching and intern, and it was highly, highly recommended by many mentor teachers I'd had through the years working in schools around the city to come and see the best practices that were happening at Catlin Gables School. And I kind of got hooked. I left for a few years, and then I came back as a teacher. I would say additionally, the commitment to social justice and to inclusion work is a huge part of why I continue to stay. And also the immense amount of community that is felt amongst really the families and the employees. And I also should have mentioned that I have a kindergartner as well. So now I also am a parent after all these years. So I'm seeing it from many sides. And it is very odd to be talking to you this way through a computer, but I also just want to say I am so grateful. I actually was on leave last year, and then just a minute, Lou. My little one's coming in. I was on leave last year, and then coming back, I do want to see you throw the ball. Thank you. Anyway, coming back into remote learning, I've been just so impressed with the amount of connection we've been able to create and maintain. And so I think that's also very indicative of our community as a whole.
Thanks, Marcel.
I'll jump in there next. My name's Isaac Enlow. I'm the assistant head of the beginning school. So I'm an administrator and was a teacher for many years at Catlin Gable. And like Marcel, I started as a student teacher way back in 2000 when I was going to graduate school. And I was drawn to Catlin Gable then because I just strongly believe that schools by their very nature are value-laden organizations. And I really was impressed with Catlin Gable being so intentional and clear about what its values were, and then organizing itself as an institution around those values. And, you know, those are just being a progressive school and valuing experiential education and inquiry and the whole child, and just the important role that our school plays in educating for democracy. And so those resonate strongly with me as an educator, and I'm just proud to contribute to a school that is built around those principles. And then secondly, you know, I get to work with really amazing people every day, amazing colleagues, teachers and staff at the school. And it's so energizing and inspiring. And that really gets me going every day.
Thank you, Isaac.
Sorry.
Okay.
I guess we can go next. Irfan here, and my wife Melissa here, and we have a third grader at Catlin and an Eagle at Catlin. And our introduction to Catlin came from I attended upper school at Catlin Gable a long time ago, and I guess back then what drew me to Catlin initially was exposure to community. And as others were speaking, I was thinking about it, and I was a student at Oregon Episcopal School, and I was very happy there and was on a very content track. But started to, in middle school, really become cognizant of the fact that through, I guess, social organizations and athletic organizations, that I had exposure to a number of families at Catlin. And I wasn't just drawn, it seemed magnetic. It seemed like many of the most dynamic folks, kids, adults, families that I knew were involved in that community. And I was drawn out of curiosity, I guess, initially. And my aspirations were kind of met and realized in my time tenure as a student, and we were fortunate enough to have our kids start to attend Catlin, and for us it's been I think it's even outpaced any of our kind of hopes or expectations or aspirations even. So we're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Thanks, Irfan.
I can go next. My name is Tania. I am the mother of Lola and Jimena. And well, I'm from Spain. So I came here to Oregon 9 years ago with Lola. She was 7, and we went through public school. We went from different schools, but we were looking for a school that was inclusive. And it's difficult when you came from Europe to feel include in a school and navigate the system and feel like you count in the school as a member. We find Catlin Gable, and it was amazing, the experience with Lola. She's in upper school. And then we have Jimena, and we applied for lower school, and we were lucky to get her in, and it's been an amazing experience. As a European family, we feel that we are in a school that really hear every people from every country, and I think everyone that is from, that doesn't matter the country you feel you are home when you are in Catlin. And that's amazing, because it's very difficult to come from outside and feel included and feel in a school that they're gonna hear you, and your kids feel growing up in 2 different cultures, because they go to an American school, but they came from a family that is from another country. So navigating these 2 cultures in a school that allows you to be who you are is amazing. And I think Catlin Gable gives you that, and something that makes me feel very happy to be in Catlin Gable is the confidence that kids have, and the teachers give them confidence. And it's amazing, because at the end, that's what you need. If you have a kid that has confidence, he's gonna make whatever he wants at the end. And that's something that we just found in Catlin Gable, and we are very, very lucky that our kids are having this experience that is amazing. And yeah.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ying-Mei, you're muted. I think you might, yeah.
Oh, I'm Ying-Mei. I have a current 5th grader and a kindergartner. My daughter, Cici, she started with Sia in kindergarten. It's been 5 or 6 years now, and we've been so happy. And my son started preschool, and now this year he's a kindergartner. I think Catlin definitely beyond everything I ever expected. For a school for my children. I still remember when I first got a call from Catlin saying my daughter Cici got in. I just told I told the lady that I felt win the lottery, and still today I still feel that way too. It's just beyond what I imagined for my kids for regarding the education part. The first thing on top of my head is the inclusive. The whole Catlin just make everyone feel so welcomed, so include to every culture. This is so important for our family. When we first tour every school in Portland area, and Catlin definitely pop up in this area. This is what we want for our children, and respect everyone's culture, respect everyone's choice, personal choice, individual choice, especially this year. The whole dynamic, the whole environment. I appreciate Catlin taught my girl just respect everything, every person in the world. And this is so important to our family, the value we respect. And also the other thing is the communication. The school just always listen. This is also very important. It's just for us, no matter what questions on my mind, no matter what things I'm thinking, I always have no fear to communicate with the school. Everyone, our Barbara, the assistant head of the school, and Dong and Isaac and the teacher, and I talk to every teacher every stuff on the campus. I can meet and talk to them, communicate to them with my concern, and also sometimes I just simply want to say, hey, thank you. My daughter today told me something, and I appreciate that. So and also every time when you have a question, the school really listens, and I appreciate that. I think for school, the whole system, that's so important to a parent, that the school willing to take the time to listen, and they really discuss. And I think that's the best. I just always appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yingmei.
Good evening. My name's Peggy Schaffler, and I was fortunate enough to attend Catlin as well a long time ago. And my father worked here as a woodshop and music teacher. So I basically lived on campus for about 12 years. I know the trees very well, the cherry trees, apple trees, the fir grove. Anyway, I had a lot of experiences after I left Catlin and was in the sciences, and finally realized that it was really art education that I wanted to study. And I did, and I got my BA and my master's in teaching and elementary school and art. And let's see, I've been here 27 years now, really long time, seen Catlin go through many changes, but the philosophy is still there. The reason I came back many years ago was because of that philosophy, and that I wanted to give back to children and parents and the community what I had received, because it was so very important and vital in my life in how I dealt with everything, not just school, but life. And I wanted to give back. I have more reasons, but I think we probably have to move on. So thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. I wanted to add on that this is my 10th year at Catlin Gable, and I was drawn to Catlin, and I stay because of the ways that Catlin Gable respects children and childhood. I am always amazed by the ways in which we are honoring children and their voice and their agency and their power right now, not just in who they're going to be in the future, but who they are right now, showing up in our classrooms. And also the ways that that we know that childhood is fleeting, and that these elementary years are short and precious, and that we're not trying to rush them, but we're trying to really hold on to each year and let each year be its fullness for what the child needs in that stage in their journey. And that's been true even while we've been remote. I'm thinking, I was thinking about how in kindergarten, you've still found ways to really emphasize play and relationship building and the joyful aspects of being a kindergartner. And just next year, I was wondering if folks could share just what it's meant for us being remote. How have those values of Catlin and what we really hold as important as a school, how have we been able to carry those through, while we've been remote?
Honestly, the first thing that rose up for me in switching to remote was that value of relationships and the way in which our, a lot of the things that people have been talking about that make Catlin what it is centering around the connections we all have, the connections we have among family, and the way in which communication happens between the classroom and the family. And that rose up for me right away, was how much it wasn't even more important, it really highlighted how important that is to keep in touch with each other, to know what's going on, and the way in which we're partnering, it changes every day at this point, and it is it's always it's what makes it stick together for me. That's been stayed constant since March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll also add to that. I think as a parent and as a teacher, the emphasis really being on investing in supporting students' desire to learn and to be inquisitive. And so we are fortunate to be supported in that, in being able to, we shifted some of our structures around to combine some different subject matters and create kind of new projects for this environment. So we have the capability to do that. We're still striving for all of our standards that we have set forth, but we are able to shift things around and do it in a way. I've been collaborating a lot with Peggy this year, and it's been really energizing to me. And I think we've been able to be responsive to the students and what is engaging to them, and really create some dynamic new curriculum that still holds true to our standards. So I think those pieces, and I think the students can sense that as well when we bring energy, and that collaboration piece is really huge. Even as I was sitting here, I got a text from my teaching assistant who's new to the school this year, but she's like, I just found out about this great, we've been doing letter writing, this great opportunity to write letters to a nursing home through her sister. Can I create an assignment for that? I said, yeah, let's do that for our Friday synchronous work, and we'll send directions to the parents. And so it's just like things like that that we infuse into our teaching, whether it's remote or not. But I think having the lens of really, the goal is engaging students in learning all the time, but especially this year, because if we lose them and they aren't interested in learning and being inquisitive, that's the biggest loss of this time. All of the standards and the skills, like those can be caught up on. Students are so resilient. And so I think that's been really a big blessing of the year, is the collaboration. I've been enjoying that.
I'm wondering, any parents, could you share from your perspective what it's been, how you've seen Catlin Gable values continue while we've been remote?
Well, for me, especially with our kindergartner, I've really seen the school emphasize his independence, that he can do the work that is provided, that it is work that kindergartners should be able to do, and that he can take agency of it and turn in his assignments and ask for help when he needs it. But he knows how to use all the tools available to him through Zoom and Seesaw, and he can raise his hand and speak with the teaching assistant and those types of things. And I think it's really been amazing to watch him take ownership of that over the year, especially in the contrast from last spring when he was still in preschool, and then him growing into halfway through kindergarten now.
Thanks, Melissa.
Well, I have a great experience to share, because Jimmy was new at the school this year. So it was a little bit tough for us to think like, well, she's going to start a school, new friends, new teachers, and it's going to be remote. So we were like, I don't know how she's going to adapt. I don't know if she's going to feel in soon. And I have to say, we are more than impressed about Catlin Gable's work this year. I mean, I think Jimmy felt from the beginning that someone was listening all the time, that the teacher was always there for her, that it was not a problem at all that she came from another school and she hesitates sometimes. They built her confidence to speak up because she was shy. And now it looks like she was in Catlin Gable since the beginning. I mean, she feels like her friends are the remote friends. and the teacher has been amazing with her. I mean, we can be more thankful, and all the program, all that they do, I mean, doesn't matter how much time she needs or how much attention to understand, they're gonna be there for her. And that's something very tough to find. So it's pretty amazing how Catlin Gable is leading the remote learning, to say. It's impressive.
Thank you. I'm gonna, oh, Peggy, go ahead, Peggy. Oh, you're muted, but please go ahead.
I do that all the time. Coming back this fall, I was really concerned that I wouldn't be able to create relationships with the new students, because I had formed relationships with all of the other 210 kids that I had last year. over 5 years, some of them. And I felt strong about being able to teach them and reach them being the really important word. And I have to say, I haven't met Ton yet, hello, but having Jimmy in class just inspired me so much. I was talking to someone the day before I started, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to reach these children who I don't know. And one of the first days with Jimmy, I felt like we were able to communicate and make a relationship. And it just made me so happy, and it made me confident to approach the 40 whatever first graders that I hadn't met. So I'll just chime in with that.
Thanks, Peggy.
Yeah.
There's a question. I'm going to shift to the questions that are in the chat. And we were talking about being remote, but there's some questions around what Catlin Gable, what we're thinking about in terms of shifting to beginning to learn on campus again, which is on the minds of our community, as it's been a lot in the news around the governor changing the guidance and the metrics, and new guidance and new metrics were just released today. So we're reviewing all of that as we think about and set what our target dates will be for returning to campus. But we do have lots of plans that are in place and that we're ready to roll out when the time is set. And so we have preschoolers on campus right now, and they've been on campus since the first day of school this year, and that has been going just very smoothly, and they have been excited to be learning on campus, and it's been fantastic to have kids in classrooms and in outdoor spaces. So we look forward to more kids joining them. And the plan is that we will phase in grades and have kindergartners through 5th graders on campus 4 days a week, and then we'll still be learning remote on Fridays. We're going to be keeping very strict cohorts, so each homeroom class will be its own cohort that will have its homeroom teachers and teaching assistants, an intern and a specialist teacher assigned to it, and that group of people will stay together all day, and an indoor learning space and an outdoor learning space. We're using classroom spaces across campus, so also using some spaces that are usually for the middle school and upper school, so that we're able to bring back kindergarten through 5th grade and spread students out in ways that will still allow for physical distancing. So we're looking forward to that day when we can welcome kids back to campus and feel really good about the strong partnership that we've had with our families that has allowed us to have such a successful remote learning experience so far for our students. Some folks are asking in the chat around some specific dates and specifically when we'll be returning to campus, and that hasn't been set yet. So we just received all the new guidance from the state today. So all of that's being reviewed, and we're reviewing our plans to make sure it's in alignment, and then the school will be setting target dates for returning. There's a question just around our overarching philosophy, and Isaac had mentioned that we are a progressive school, so that we work to teach the whole child, that we see the purpose of our work is educating for participation in a democratic society, that we believe that we should be leading with inquiry and children's questions, and that children learn best when it's experiential, when they're immersed in the learning in real world ways. And I'm wondering if folks on the panel could just share more about how that philosophy comes to life. What does that look like to be a progressive school?
I'll go first. I think, am I unmuted now?
You are, Peggy.
I'm just thinking of experiential education as one aspect of what you were talking about, Dawn. And we go on many field trips and with different teachers from different subjects. And there's one that for an example, I'll choose the Bull Run Reservoir field trip that we go on. And the children dissect salmon, they test water for turbidity, they draw the environment that they see and the view that they see of of the dam, and quite a few other things they study while we're there. And when we come back to the classroom, we take those drawings and we create prints of their impressions that they got from their field trip. So I guess that's one example.
Thank you.
So.
Isaac, did you have?
I was just thinking about something happening in preschool right now. You know, all of the grades, preschool through 5th grade, right now have some shared overarching questions that are helping to frame the inquiry that people are engaged in the projects that Marcel was mentioning. And right now there's an exploration of the idea of place. And the way this took shape in kindergarten and preschool was there was a question posed. It was either posed to the children or came from the children. I'm not exactly sure about what kind of place the playhouse could turn into next. And this sort of like kind of innocent question that came up has led into this entire exploration through a number of different materials, exploring all sorts of different kinds of places. So the kids were excited about learning more about underwater places, and then space as a place. And they created huge group murals together based on some research they had done. And then with the wood shop and tinkering teacher, the students created individual little worlds with materials that can connect with each other, so that you can bring two children's worlds together and they can have conversations. There's a lot of storytelling going around as they sort of explore this idea. And then next, they're exploring campus, like as our place in the world, and thinking about what are different ways to sort of represent and map the campus together. And then all of that thinking is going into then back to this question of the playhouse and what sort of place it's going to be. It's just been a really rich collaboration, really, between the teachers and the children, and an exploration of a question that's really of like an authentic question for children through all these different languages of exploration and expression in the classroom. It's been really inspiring.
Thanks, Isaac.
Just
Marcel?
yeah, add to that too. I think some important parts of progressive ed are really the critical thinking skills. And Isaac mentioned earlier, educating for democracy, and really rooting in those beliefs. I think through my years, I've done a lot of work with the Diversity Action Council and to establish affinity groups to work on the inclusion piece. It's really lovely to hear from families because we've worked really hard as a school community to create an inclusive environment and always be responsive, because it's ever changing. I think too, we really want to give students the skills to have tough conversations and to learn how to disagree as well, and that's okay. And so all of those pieces are really layered in throughout all of our curricula, and I'm just really grateful to be in a place where that's so fully supported and really encouraged.
Thanks. You know, building off of that inclusivity piece, that educating for democracy, right? That if we're educating for democracy, we're going to need to learn how to be in community with people who are similar to us, who are different from us. We're going to have to know how to engage into conflict and problem solve and be in community in ways that aren't always easy, right? And there's a question here around specifically how we're talking with kids about race, especially given, you know, the difficult history of our own state and our country when it comes to matters of race. So how are we engaging kids in conversations around race and around power and privilege in ways that make sense for elementary age children?
Yeah, I can start with that. I think the school, you know, it's we've done a lot of professional development, working on what does it mean to be an anti-racist school, looking at the different layers of that systemically within our school as well, not just our curricula. Also looking at doing work around how are you using culturally responsive teaching techniques in the classroom. I am very direct with my students about it. It's something that we notice. It's something that we see is skin color, it's melanin. We had a discussion this past week around the insurrection with my second graders, the insurrection in Washington, D.C. I believe in letting students lead those conversations. What are they hearing? What are they wondering? And also communicating very clearly with families about the conversation we've had so they can support at home, especially when something heavy like that comes up. But I do not shy away from that. I think it's important to address because they're hearing it, they're seeing it on the news. It's around, if they were at school, they'd be having side conversations in the hallways, right, on the playground. And so it's important that we don't ignore those pieces. I think the affinity groups are a huge part of helping students understand that there are layers of oppression in our society based off of marginalized groups. And we do lots of work. Our school counselor, I work with him a lot as well to do a lot of work on what does that mean and how do we understand our privileges and the many layers of our identities, because we all have different privileges and all have different parts of us, whether they're visible or not, that have advantages in our communities. And so we really try to coach and support students in understanding who they are and all those different layers as well. We offer affinity groups for marginalized groups. Right now we have a multiracial, multicultural group, a Latinx group, a Black group, an Asian Pacific Islander group, an LGBTQIA plus, and it's more of a, that's more of a club and also like a allies group. And then there's a Jewish affinity group. Oh, and I lead an all identities group as well, along with the Latinx one. And that's really a space for anybody who wants to come to show up. And so it's a nice space to talk about what makes us who we are and get practice asking each other questions and getting to know those layers. So hopefully that, I'm sure others have it at.
Thanks, Marcel.
I want to add something from a parent.
Oh, Yinmei, you're muted again.
Hi, I want to add to that. Marcel said from the school and then from parents every year. It just this year we couldn't have that since it's remote learning, but every year we have Heritage Day. We celebrate every culture, every country, who we are. We bring, I remember last time we brought every parent, if they want to participate, they brought their own country's flag. And then it's just beautiful to see all different flags, country flags, just flying on the campus. And then we celebrate every identity, everyone and every culture. We also share our unique food from our own country and culture. Some parents, family also brought their own costumes and wearing their own costume. And we even had a show program like dancing and singing to celebrate different culture. It's a great event to actually just show to the children and to every community members that how we celebrate this the community, whole community. We are in diversity and we are so inclusive. And also we have different language program in which my daughter in Chinese language program, and we have Spanish. And every year these two language we celebrate two annual event like Lunar New Year. We have an event school-wide. Children gonna put on clothes, celebrate the ceremony clothes and sing and dance. And we have traditional food from all Asian countries who celebrate Lunar New Year. And also Spanish, they dance, they sing. It's so wonderful to watch. So I felt so welcomed as a Chinese family in this community since day one. And still now continuing. So I think from a minority family, this is Catholic diversity and being very inclusive. And this is how every children here learn just to respect and also be proud of who we are and be proud of being different and also respect everyone's identity. So there is is no question. This is a great community, very inclusive and diversity.
Thank you. There was just a question specifically around if we celebrate Black History Month, which we do both in the classrooms and then also through a community meeting. And also, work to, as folks are saying here, right, really think about how we're centering stories and how we're thinking about who has power and privilege and whose story is being told and whose story is not being told, and how can we be decentering maybe the white story that is often told and telling the story from different perspectives and different angles. Time is going by quickly, so I'm going to move on to some other questions here. There is just questions around how we get to know students. So how do we get to know their strengths and their needs? What does assessment look like? How do we share that with families so that families have an understanding of strengths and needs and areas for growth? Sia, maybe could you share, just starting with kindergarten, what that looks like in kindergarten? And
yeah, it's just such a big question. It feels like that's my whole, what we center pretty much everything we do around, is getting to know them really well and to be able to provide detailed information using formal assessment, and also know them well enough to know if this this moment in time that we captured was actually indicative of who they are. So, that's how we base all of our decisions, is how we know that whole child and what they need in the moment. And that has been never more true than in remote teaching and learning, because it's just one tiny aspect of what we can do in a classroom, and we'll really have to hone in on those moments, especially in kindergarten, to capitalize on the time we do have together. So, so if I can expand on the question even, it's in formal assessment, absolutely, but it's in day-to-day knowledge too, of connecting with them and making sure that, in the classroom, it would be having those, walking to class moments, or walking across campus, or come over here and chat with me. And in Zoom, it's still some of that, and it's seesaw. Somebody mentioned that. That's where I've found another entry point. It's in comments that they can comment back, and that's how we, kind of maintain that in this new structure. But really, it kind of is happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just add that there's also a really great team of folks that, the students not only have the homeroom, but have a lot of specialists that they see. And I see that as a real strength, not only for the exposure they get to all the different topics, but also for the team when discussing a student, because I think we bring different lenses to our work, and it's really important to check those and to have good relationships with your colleagues. And I think that's really the heart of like anti-racist teaching and culturally responsive teaching, is being able to examine some of those pieces. And so you have a whole team to do that together and look across, different content areas to really see and get a whole sense of that child.
And, building on what Marcel was saying, there's quite a few of us that know children over multiple years. When you were saying Cece's a fifth grader, in my mind, she's still in Cia's class in kindergarten. It's hard to believe that it's already her time to be a fifth grader. But there are the student support team, and along with the specialist teachers, we get to know children and their families well over, their tenure in the beginning and lower school, which helps with that continuity and seeing the whole child and knowing their strengths and their needs and how those are evolving and changing or staying the same, and are things that we still need to be supporting and or celebrating, throughout the years. And teachers are assessing, in ongoing ways to inform what they're going to do next with children. So teachers, as Sia was saying, it's just a part of what we're doing, because we always want to know what a child's strengths are and what their needs are, so that we can be giving them the right next thing for them. And that's, shared with families in informal and ongoing ways, but also in formal ways. So there's 2 times a year in January at the end of the year where families get a written report. And then there are another 2 times a year in November and in April when there are parent-teacher conferences. And it's a conversation around how a child is doing. But there's also a lot of communication that happens in ongoing ways too. We have a couple minutes left, and there was a specific question just around twins and if we usually put twins in the same class or in separate classes. And, we usually put them in separate classes, but, that is also in partnership with families. Sometimes there might be a particular reason for a family why children should be together or be separated. This year, they're actually placed together in some classes because of our plans of wanting to make sure kids were together when we're returning to campus and the cohorts that we'd be creating. Let me take a look. And, there was a question here just around how we involve families and how parents are also involved. That might be, we're past our time, so that might be a good one to end on. Let's end on that, how we involve parents and families, and then we'll wrap up.
Well, I just have to say something very quick, that it's impressive how this school has a very fluid connection with the kids. It's not just that they are teachers with these kids, it's they build a relationship, they really care about the kids. So they are always on top of everything they feel about the kid, and they are always telling us as parents what they feel. They're checking in with us, and they are always like looking the way they can improve the connection with the kids. So that's very impressive. It's not just they are teaching them, it's they are building that relationship and that confidence and that, so that the kid really loves the teacher, and that's the way they can start learning. And it's very impressive. So as a parent, I can say that the information we have about the kid is every day. If something, the kid feels a little bit down that day, you're gonna get an email saying, okay, we wanna check in about Jimmy. We saw this, and it's amazing. It's amazing how the kid ends the class and say, I love my teacher. And it's true. So, well, I just wanna add that.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan. I will add about the parent involved, the way how we get involved. Well, Catlin just have lots of opportunities for parents to jump in, to get involved. And I remember before the remote learning, my calendar, I don't work, but my calendar is full. It's all Catlin meetings, conference, and sessions, presentations, if you want to participate. And also last year, of course, we have PFA. You always can volunteer to be at PFA, and then you get your calendar even fuller. You can talk to the there are so many events that parents can volunteer, and like the Heritage Day, that one is fully run by PFAs, and also our wonderful two other parents. They've been leading that event for many years now. So we have so many things. And spring event, I remember we have spring festival, you can volunteer. We have every event, basically every month, we can find some event you can volunteer and get involved. And we always have town hall meeting you can join. You can raise questions to any management team member, you can talk to them. And also bottom line, you can be PFA and get involved to the lots of details. And last year I was the PFA, fourth grade PFA. And for example, the fourth grader last year, we have this monthly parent social thing. You can host as a PFA, you can host in the classroom, and then talk to the teachers. Last year, the fourth grade teachers also joined that event every month. And the parents can come and we can talk, any questions you have, any concerns you have. So I would say the communication path and also how you get involved, it's beyond your imagination. You can get your calendar really full to get involved.
Thank you, Yingmei. And thank you to, I'm sorry we went a few minutes over here. So thank you to all of our panelists for being here and sharing your stories. And thank you for being part of Catlin Gable. And thank you to everyone who attended. Please reach out to Zoe with your questions or to have a conversation. And we hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much.